Have you ever felt like your mind is working against you? That no matter how hard you try, something holds you back? Whether it's self-doubt, regret, or the weight of others' opinions. The truth is, we all have mental habits that silently weaken us. But what if I told you that with the wisdom of Buddhism, you can transform these habits into strengths? Today, we're diving into 10 habits that make you mentally weak, and uncovering how Buddhist teachings can help you break free from negativity, fear, and overwhelm. These aren't just theories. They're powerful lessons backed by ancient wisdom and real-life examples. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how to overcome these habits, but also feel empowered to create a life of resilience and inner peace. So, grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's embark on this journey together. And hey, if you find this content valuable, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, Buddhist Balance, for more transformative insights. Let's strengthen our minds and live with purpose, one step at a time. Habit 1: Negative mindset. A negative mindset is like planting weeds in the garden of your mind. Over time, it overtakes every opportunity for growth. It leaves only frustration and doubt. Buddhism compares the mind to a clear sky, vast and boundless. Negative thoughts are like storm clouds. They obscure the sunlight but can never destroy the sky itself. Expansion with personal insights. In my experience, negativity often sneaks in during times of stress or uncertainty. It's like a guest you didn't invite but somehow ends up overstaying their welcome. Instead of ignoring it, Buddhism teaches us to acknowledge these thoughts without judgment. Then, gently guide the mind back to positivity. This isn't about slapping a smile over your problems. It's about cultivating gratitude and compassion to shift your perspective. One powerful technique is mindfulness meditation. You observe your thoughts as if they were clouds passing by. With consistent practice, negativity starts to feel fleeting, not permanent. Gratitude exercises are another helpful tool. Try listing 3 things you're thankful for each day. This simple habit pulls your mind out of the storm and back into the sunshine. Example story: Abraham Lincoln. Take Abraham Lincoln, for instance. He led the United States through its Civil War and endured tremendous hardships. Lincoln lost a son during his presidency. He also faced immense criticism. Yet, instead of succumbing to despair, he focused on gratitude for what he could control. His vision for a united nation kept him going. Lincoln found solace in the writings of philosophers and poets. This form of mindfulness helped him refocus on the positive, even amidst chaos. Example story: Ananda's journey. In Buddhist tradition, there's the story of Ananda, one of Buddha's closest disciples. Ananda often doubted himself. He believed he wasn't achieving the same spiritual progress as others. The Buddha advised him to start small. Every night, Ananda wrote down 3 things he appreciated about his day. At first, they were simple. I ate a good meal. The weather was pleasant. I spoke kindly to someone. Over time, this practice transformed his outlook. He began to see challenges as opportunities for growth, not reasons for despair. Practical application. When faced with negativity, remind yourself, this too shall pass. The Buddhist concept of impermanence teaches us that nothing, not even our darkest days, is forever. Redirect your focus to what's good. It could be as small as a hot cup of coffee or a kind word. By doing so, you reclaim your mental space from the storm clouds of doubt. Another effective tool is loving-kindness meditation, or metta. Close your eyes and silently wish yourself and others well. For example, repeat phrases like, "May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free from suffering." This act of self-compassion rewires your mindset. Over time, positivity becomes your default state. Key lesson. History and Buddhist teachings show us that a negative mindset doesn't have to define us. By practicing gratitude, mindfulness, and self-compassion, we can clear the storm clouds and reveal the bright, limitless sky of our potential. Abraham Lincoln, Ananda, and countless others have proven this. Resilience is not the absence of negativity. It's the courage to rise above it. Habit 2. Complaining about things outside your control. Complaining about things outside your control is like trying to stop the ocean waves with your hands. It's exhausting, futile, and ultimately self-defeating. Buddhism reminds us that resistance to reality only deepens our suffering. Instead, we're taught to embrace acceptance, and to focus our energy on what we can change. Expansion with personal insights. Complaining feels good in the moment, like scratching an itch, but it ultimately leaves us frustrated. I've noticed that the more I fixate on external problems, the less mental clarity I have. This lack of clarity makes it harder to find solutions. Buddhism offers a profound alternative: acceptance. Acceptance isn't passive resignation. It's a deliberate choice to stop wasting energy on what can't be changed. Instead, it's about redirecting that energy toward what can be improved. The practice of mindfulness can help. When you feel the urge to complain, pause and observe your thoughts. Are they focused on the problem or on a potential solution? This simple shift in perspective transforms complaints into opportunities for growth. Example story: Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, exemplified this principle. He led Rome through plagues, wars, and political turmoil. He could have easily fallen into the trap of complaining about his circumstances. Instead, he practiced acceptance. In his meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By focusing on his own actions and mindset, Marcus steered Rome through some of its most challenging times. Example story: the parable of the storm. In Buddhist tradition, there's a story of a farmer who lost his crops during a storm. Distraught, he sat by the field, lamenting his misfortune for days. A monk passing by asked, "Will your complaints bring back the crops?" The farmer replied, "No, but what else can I do?" The monk suggested, "Plant again. But this time build a barrier to protect your field from future storms." The farmer took the advice. His next harvest was abundant. His complaints had only prolonged his misery. but action transformed his situation. Practical application. When you catch yourself complaining, ask, "Can I control this?" If the answer is no, practice acceptance. If the answer is yes, shift to problem solving. For example, if you're stuck in traffic, complaining won't clear the road. But you can use the time to listen to an audiobook, practice mindfulness, or reflect on your day. Buddhism also encourages the practice of letting go. Imagine you're holding a hot coal. Complaining is like refusing to drop it. When you release it, the pain stops. This practice frees up mental space for more constructive thoughts and actions. Key lesson. Complaining about uncontrollable circumstances only deepens our suffering. By accepting what we cannot change and taking action where we can, we free ourselves from negativity. Marcus Aurelius didn't waste time lamenting his fate. He focused on what he could control. Similarly, the farmer in the storm learned that action, not complaint, leads to growth. Adopt this mindset, and you'll find strength where others see only frustration. Habit 3. Not expressing yourself. Not expressing yourself is like owning a treasure chest but keeping it locked away. Your thoughts, emotions, and ideas have immense value. But when suppressed, they create pressure that can lead to stress and disconnection. Buddhism teaches that authentic expression is essential. Guided by mindfulness and compassion, it fosters mental well-being and meaningful relationships. Expansion with personal insights. I've found that not expressing myself often stems from fear. Fear of judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding. But holding back only deepens the sense of isolation. Buddhism offers a way out through the practice of right speech. This means communicating with honesty, kindness, and intention. Expressing yourself authentically isn't about saying everything on your mind. It's about sharing what matters most in a way that fosters connection and understanding. Practicing mindfulness can help you become aware of unspoken emotions. It's like turning on a light in a dark room, revealing what's been hidden. When you approach self-expression with clarity and compassion, you're not just communicating, you're building bridges. Example story, Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was known for leading India's fight for independence. But he didn't always have a strong voice. Initially, he was a shy lawyer who avoided public speaking. He often chose silence over confrontation. Through self-reflection and spiritual practice, Gandhi found his voice. He used it to inspire millions. His adherence to truth and nonviolence was a profound example of right speech. His words aligned with his values and actions. Example story, the bottled-up monk. There's a story in Buddhism about a young monk struggling with anger and frustration. He refused to speak about it, fearing it would make him appear weak. Over time, his emotions boiled over. This affected his relationships with other monks. The Buddha advised him to practice mindfulness. Then, share his feelings in a calm and compassionate way. Once the monk expressed himself, the tension lifted. He found peace, as did those around him. Practical application. When you feel hesitant to express yourself, ask, "What am I afraid of?" Often, the fear of judgment or rejection is greater than the reality. Practicing mindfulness before speaking can help clarify your thoughts and emotions. Try pausing and taking a few deep breaths. Consider whether your words are true, kind, and necessary. Nonverbal communication is another powerful tool. Your tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language often say more than words. By being mindful of how you carry yourself, you can express authenticity without even speaking. Key lesson: suppressing your voice only creates disconnection and stress. By practicing mindfulness and right speech, you can express yourself authentically. This fosters stronger relationships and inner peace. Mahatma Gandhi overcame his initial hesitation to inspire millions. The young monk found relief by sharing his emotions mindfully. When you unlock the treasure chest of your thoughts and feelings, you not only liberate yourself, you also enrich the lives of those around you. Habit 4. Blaming others for your problems. Blaming others for your problems is like trying to run a race with a backpack full of rocks. It slows you down and takes away your power to move forward. Buddhism teaches that taking responsibility for our actions and choices is the key to growth. By letting go of blame, we reclaim control over our lives. Expansion with personal insights. Blaming others is often a defense mechanism. It's a way to avoid the discomfort of self-reflection. In my own life, I've noticed that when I fall into the blame game, I feel stuck. It's as though I've handed over the keys to my happiness. Buddhism teaches the concept of karma. Our actions and attitudes shape our experiences. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It's about recognizing where you have the power to act and improve. Mindfulness helps us identify when we're shifting blame onto others. It's like shining a flashlight in a dark room, revealing hidden thoughts and patterns. With awareness, we can choose a different response, one that focuses on solutions rather than assigning fault. Example story: Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela's life is a powerful example of refusing to blame others. Even in the face of extreme injustice, he chose a different path. Imprisoned for 27 years, Mandela could have easily blamed his captors. He could have blamed the oppressive system for his suffering. Instead, he used his time in prison for self-reflection and growth. When he emerged, he chose forgiveness over resentment. Mandela united a divided nation through his actions. His story demonstrates the liberating power of letting go of blame. Example story: The Broken Cart. In a Buddhist tale, a traveler's cart breaks down on a remote road. He curses the cart maker, the road, and even the weather. Hours are wasted in frustration. Finally, he realizes that blaming won't fix the cart. He rolls up his sleeves, repairs it himself, and continues his journey. The Buddha later teaches that taking responsibility is like mending a broken wheel. It allows us to move forward with ease. Practical application: when you catch yourself blaming others, pause and reflect. What can I do to improve this situation? Shifting from blame to accountability empowers you to take action. For example, if you're frustrated at work, don't focus on blaming a colleague or manager. Instead, consider how you can communicate better or improve your skills. Forgiveness is another essential tool. Holding on to blame is like carrying a heavy burden. Forgiving others, even if they were in the wrong, frees you from resentment. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior. It's about choosing to let go for your own peace of mind. Key lesson: blaming others weakens you by giving away your power. Nelson Mandela showed that even in the harshest circumstances, letting go of blame leads to growth. The traveler who fixed his cart reminds us that action, not blame, moves us forward. By practicing mindfulness, forgiveness, and accountability, you can lighten your mental load and steer your life in a positive direction. Habit 5. Fantasizing instead of visualizing. Fantasizing instead of visualizing is like building castles in the air. They're beautiful but unattainable. Fantasies disconnect us from reality and drain our energy. Buddhism teaches the importance of grounding our aspirations in the present moment. Through mindful intention and practical effort, dreams can become achievable goals. Expansion with personal insights. Fantasizing can feel like a comforting escape, but it often leaves us frustrated when reality doesn't match our imagined scenarios. In my experience, fantasies create a false sense of progress. Buddhism encourages right intention and right action. These practices involve setting realistic goals and working toward them mindfully. Visualization differs from fantasizing because it is rooted in actionable steps. It remains aware of the present moment. Mindfulness helps bridge the gap between dreams and reality. By focusing on achievable goals, we channel our energy into meaningful actions. This approach prevents us from being stuck in wishful thinking. Example story: Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, exemplified visualizing with purpose. He didn't fantasize about his inventions magically working. Instead, Edison approached his goals methodically. He famously said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." Edison visualized the outcome he wanted but grounded it in relentless effort. He conducted over 1,000 failed experiments before succeeding. His story shows how visualization paired with hard work leads to success. Example story: The Clinging Monk. A Buddhist parable tells of a monk who spent his days imagining enlightenment. He never meditated or studied, yet envisioned himself as a revered teacher. Years passed, and he remained stagnant. One day, an elder monk advised him to start small, meditate for just a few minutes daily. The monk followed this advice, and over time, his efforts bore fruit. He realized that visualization paired with action was the key to progress. Practical application: when you find yourself lost in fantasies, pause and ask, what small step can I take today to move closer to this vision? For example, if you dream of writing a book, start with a single paragraph or an outline. Visualization involves creating a mental roadmap with clear, actionable steps. The Buddhist concept of impermanence can also guide your approach. Understand that circumstances change, and adaptability is essential. Visualization allows for flexibility. It helps you adjust your goals while staying rooted in the present moment. Key lesson: fantasizing keeps us trapped in illusion. Visualization, however, empowers us to take meaningful action. Thomas Edison didn't stop at dreaming about the light bulb. He worked tirelessly to bring his vision to life. The clinging monk learned that visualization grounded in effort leads to growth. By practicing mindfulness, setting realistic goals, and embracing impermanence, you can transform your dreams into meaningful achievements. Habit 6. Neglecting personal relationships. Neglecting personal relationships is like owning a beautiful garden but forgetting to water the plants. Over time, the flowers wither, leaving only barren soil. Humans are inherently social beings. Meaningful connections provide emotional support and joy. Buddhism emphasizes compassion, presence, and impermanence in nurturing relationships. It reminds us that time spent with loved ones is irreplaceable. Expansion with personal insights. In my own life, I've seen how neglecting relationships, even unintentionally, creates distance and misunderstanding. Buddhism teaches the importance of mindful presence. This means being fully engaged in the moment with those we care about. It's not about the quantity of time spent, but the quality of attention given. Relationships thrive on small acts of kindness, just as gardens flourish with consistent care. Buddhism also reminds us of impermanence, the fleeting nature of life and relationships. This understanding encourages us to prioritize connections. Every moment spent with loved ones is precious. Example story: Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt, one of America's most influential first ladies, is a testament to the power of nurturing relationships. Despite her demanding public role, she maintained deep connections with friends and family. Her compassion and attentiveness made her a source of strength for those around her. Even during challenging times, Eleanor prioritized meaningful relationships. Her ability to balance duties with connection shows that even the busiest lives can prioritize relationships. Example story: The monk and his friend. A Buddhist story tells of a young monk who became deeply focused on his meditation practice. So much so, he began neglecting his friendships. One day, a childhood friend visited, but the monk, absorbed in his routine, barely spoke to him. When the friend left, the monk felt a profound sense of loss. The Buddha later reminded him that spiritual growth is not separate from human connection. Relationships, like meditation, require mindfulness and care to flourish. Practical application: to nurture relationships, start by practicing mindful presence. When spending time with loved ones, put away distractions. Give them your full attention. Even a few minutes of undivided attention can strengthen bonds. Communication is another essential aspect. Reach out to friends or family regularly, even with a kind word or gesture. Buddhism teaches right speech, emphasizing words that are truthful, kind, and nurturing. A simple "I appreciate you" can go a long way in fostering connection. Finally, reflect on impermanence. Remind yourself that no moment or relationship is guaranteed. This awareness motivates you to prioritize the people who matter most. Savor the time you have together. Key lesson: neglecting relationships weakens the foundation of our emotional well-being. Eleanor Roosevelt showed that even the busiest lives can be rich in connection. The monk learned that spiritual growth includes cherishing others. By practicing mindful presence, open communication, and embracing impermanence, You can cultivate meaningful relationships that nourish both your heart and mind. Habit 7. Letting your emotions rule you. Letting emotions rule you is like being swept away by a raging river without a paddle. You lose direction and control, often ending up in situations you later regret. Buddhism teaches us to observe our emotions with mindfulness and compassion. This allows us to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. Emotional intelligence, built through these practices, becomes the key to navigating life's turbulent waters. Expansion with personal insights. I found that when emotions take over, they cloud judgment and distort reality. Whether it's anger, sadness, or even joy, unchecked emotions can lead to poor decisions. Buddhism emphasizes the practice of mindfulness. This means watching emotions as they arise without becoming attached to them. It's not about suppressing feelings. It's about understanding them fully so they no longer control you. One of the most transformative practices I've learned is to pause and breathe when strong emotions surface. That brief moment of awareness creates space to choose a thoughtful response. Over time, this builds resilience and emotional balance. Example story: Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, one of America's most dynamic presidents, was known for his fiery temper. Early in his career, his impulsive reactions sometimes created conflict. Over time, Roosevelt learned to channel his emotions into purposeful action. He became a master of emotional control. This ability allowed him to inspire others and lead effectively. Even during times of great adversity, Roosevelt's emotional intelligence shone through. Example story: The Burning Lamp. In a Buddhist tale, a young monk struggled with anger whenever others disagreed with him. The Buddha likened his anger to a lamp that burns brightly but consumes its own fuel. Eventually, the lamp extinguishes itself. The Buddha advised the monk to observe his anger as it arose. He suggested watching it like a flame without adding oil. Over time, the monk learned to let his anger pass without acting on it. This brought him peace and clarity in his relationships. Practical application: to prevent emotions from ruling you, practice mindfulness by observing your feelings without judgment. When anger arises, pause and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Is my reaction helpful? Simply naming the emotion can reduce its intensity. Another tool is loving-kindness meditation, or metta. Direct positive thoughts toward yourself and others, especially those you feel anger or frustration toward. For example, repeat silently, "May I be peaceful. May they be peaceful." This practice fosters compassion and softens the grip of negative emotions. Additionally, keep a journal to reflect on emotional triggers and patterns. Writing helps you understand your emotions and respond more skillfully in the future. Key lesson: emotions are powerful, but they don't have to dictate your actions. Theodore Roosevelt's journey from impulsivity to thoughtful leadership shows the value of emotional mastery. The monk's story illustrates the power of mindfulness. By observing your emotions, practicing compassion, and responding wisely, you can steer your life with clarity and resilience, even in the midst of emotional storms. Habit 8. Trying to control everything. Trying to control everything is like holding sand in your fist. The tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. This habit creates frustration and exhaustion. Why? Because it's impossible to dictate every aspect of life. Buddhism teaches us to embrace impermanence and practice non-attachment. This paradoxically leads to greater peace and empowerment. Expansion with personal insights. In my experience, the need for control often comes from fear. Fear of uncertainty or failure. Yet, the harder I try to control outcomes, the more stressed and powerless I feel. Buddhism offers a powerful insight: control is an illusion. By letting go of the need to micromanage life, I've found freedom and clarity. This allows me to focus on what truly matters. Practices like mindfulness and acceptance ground us in the present moment. This is where our influence lies. Instead of fighting the waves, Buddhism encourages us to ride them. Adapt as life ebbs and flows. Example story: Dwight D. Eisenhower. Dwight D. Eisenhower, a 5-star general during World War II, understood the limits of control. During the D-Day invasion, he meticulously planned every detail. But he also knew unforeseen events could derail his strategy. Before the invasion, he wrote 2 speeches, one for success and another taking responsibility for failure. This acceptance of uncertainty allowed him to focus on what he could control: his preparation and leadership. He let go of the rest. Example story: the broken pot. In a Buddhist story, a farmer had a pot with a crack. He tried to control how much water it carried but couldn't stop it from leaking. Frustrated, he considered discarding it. One day, he noticed flowers growing along the path where the water spilled. The Buddha explained that by accepting the pot's imperfection, the farmer could see its hidden value. The flowers thrived because of what the farmer couldn't control. Practical application. When you feel the urge to control everything, start by identifying what is within your sphere of influence. Ask yourself, what can I realistically do right now? Focus your energy on these actions rather than stressing over what you can't change. The practice of non-attachment is another valuable tool. Non-attachment doesn't mean apathy. It means being engaged without clinging to specific outcomes. For example, if you're preparing for an exam, study diligently, but accept that some factors, like the difficulty of the questions, are beyond your control. Mindfulness meditation can also help you release the illusion of control. During meditation, observe your thoughts and feelings without trying to change them. This teaches you to accept the natural flow of life rather than resist it. Key lesson: the more we try to control life, the more elusive peace becomes. Dwight D. Eisenhower showed us the balance between preparation and acceptance. The farmer's cracked pot reminds us that even imperfections can bear fruit. By focusing on what you can influence, practicing non-attachment, and embracing mindfulness, you'll find strength in surrender and empowerment in acceptance. Habit 9. Dwelling on the past. Dwelling on the past is like walking forward while constantly looking in the rearview mirror. You miss the opportunities ahead and risk stumbling over obstacles in your path. This habit traps us in regret or nostalgia, weakening our ability to live fully in the present. Buddhism teaches mindfulness, self-compassion, and acceptance of impermanence as keys to freeing ourselves from the weight of the past. Expansion with personal insights. Reflecting on the past can be helpful for learning lessons. But dwelling on it often creates unnecessary suffering. I've noticed that holding on to past mistakes or grievances feels like carrying a heavy backpack. The Buddhist practice of mindfulness has shown me how to set down that burden. By focusing on the present moment, I've learned to let go. Forgiveness, both for ourselves and others, is another essential tool. It's not about excusing harmful behavior. It's about letting go of the pain that ties us to it. Self-compassion also plays a critical role in releasing regrets. Instead of harshly criticizing myself for past choices, I approach them with kindness. I recognize that everyone grows through mistakes. Example story: Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, one of the world's most influential figures, endured a traumatic childhood. She grew up in poverty and experienced abuse. She could have been defined by her past. But instead, she chose to focus on healing and growth. By practicing forgiveness and self-reflection, Oprah transformed her pain into purpose. She created a platform to inspire millions. Her story shows that letting go of the past enables us to shape a brighter future. Example story: The Heavy Load. In a Buddhist story, two monks were traveling and came across a woman unable to cross a river. The older monk carried her across, but the younger monk fumed silently for hours, upset that his companion had broken a rule by touching the woman. Finally, the older monk asked, "Why are you still carrying her? I put her down hours ago." The younger monk realized his anger wasn't about the woman. It was about his inability to let go. Practical application. When you find yourself dwelling on the past, pause and ask, "What can I learn from this?" Identify the lesson. Then gently redirect your focus to the present. For example, if you regret a missed opportunity, think about how you can seize similar opportunities in the future. Forgiveness is a powerful way to release the past. Write a letter to yourself or someone else expressing forgiveness. It doesn't need to be sent, it's simply a way to process your feelings. Practicing self-compassion is equally important. When negative self-talk arises, counter it with kind, affirming words like, "I'm doing my best, and that's enough." The Buddhist principle of impermanence reminds us that everything changes, including our attachment to the past. Visualize the past as a river that flows away, leaving you free to stand on the shore and appreciate the present moment. Key lesson: dwelling on the past keeps you chained to what you cannot change. Oprah Winfrey's journey from pain to purpose shows the transformative power of letting go. The Buddhist story of the monks teaches us that we carry unnecessary burdens far longer than we need to. By practicing mindfulness, forgiveness, and self-compassion, you can release the past, lighten your load, and step boldly into the present. Be ready to embrace life's unfolding possibilities. Habit 10. Worrying about what others say and do. Worrying about what others say and do is like carrying a heavy backpack filled with other people's opinions. It weighs you down and keeps you from walking your own path. This habit weakens your mental strength because it ties your self-worth to external validation. Buddhism teaches equanimity, authenticity, and self-love as antidotes to this unnecessary burden. Expansion with personal insights. I've learned that worrying about others' opinions is like chasing the wind. It's exhausting and leads nowhere. The teachings of Buddhism on equanimity, upekkha, have shown me an alternative. We cannot control what others think or say, but we can control how we respond. Equanimity encourages us to remain balanced amidst praise and criticism. Both are fleeting and impermanent. Authenticity is another crucial practice. Instead of bending to fit others' expectations, I've found peace in embracing my true self. Self-love anchors this journey. It reminds us that our worth isn't determined by external judgments. It's shaped by the kindness and respect we show ourselves. Example story: Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt famously said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." As First Lady, she faced constant criticism. Yet, she remained steadfast in her principles and authentic in her actions. By focusing on her values rather than others' opinions, she became a transformative leader. Her advocacy for human rights and equality inspired millions. Her resilience demonstrates the power of equanimity and self-confidence. Example story: the lotus and the mud. In a Buddhist parable, the lotus flower grows in muddy water. Yet, it remains pure and untainted by its surroundings. The Buddha explained that, like the lotus, we can rise above the mud of judgment and gossip. Instead of letting others' words define us, we should root ourselves in self-awareness and authenticity. Practical application: when you find yourself worrying about what others think, pause and ask, does this opinion align with my values? Does it truly matter? Often, the answer reveals how little weight these opinions deserve. Practice equanimity by reminding yourself that praise and criticism are like the wind. They come and go. Visualize yourself as a sturdy tree, rooted in self-confidence, unaffected by the changing winds of external judgment. Another tool is mindfulness meditation. Spend a few minutes daily reflecting on your intrinsic worth. Repeat affirmations like, "I am enough as I am. My value is not determined by others' opinions." Over time, these affirmations build a foundation of self-love and authenticity. Finally, focus on your actions rather than perceptions. If you're proud of how you've handled a situation, that's what truly matters. Let your own standards guide you, not the ever-changing opinions of others. Key lesson: worrying about others' opinions anchors you to their expectations. This prevents you from living authentically. Eleanor Roosevelt's confidence in her principles shows the power of equanimity. The lotus flower reminds us to rise above external judgment. By embracing self-love, authenticity, and mindfulness, you can liberate yourself from the weight of others' words. Walk your own path with strength and clarity. As we've explored today, mental strength isn't about being emotionless or unaffected. It's about cultivating clarity, balance, and resilience in the face of life's challenges. Each of the habits we've discussed may feel overwhelming. But remember, change begins with small, consistent steps. The teachings of Buddhism remind us that our minds are like gardens. What we nurture will grow. So, I challenge you, which habit will you tackle first? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. And if this video resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who could benefit. And subscribe to Buddhist Balance for more wisdom and practical tools to transform your life. Thank you for spending this time with us today. Together, let's build stronger minds, kinder hearts, and a more meaningful life. Until next time, stay mindful and stay inspired.